We are talking nuclear, of course. This is after the big announcement from Peter Dutton and his shadow cabinet yesterday. I want to bring in the Shadow Climate Change and Energy Minister, Ted O'Brien, now. Ted, good to see you. There's been plenty of reaction, which you would have seen most of. There's a big question still about the cost. We're trying to get to the bottom of that. We spoke to Tim Buckley last hour. He said this is roughly a plan that could cost around $100 billion. Is that anywhere near the vicinity of what you've got in mind?
Great to be with you, Laura, and thanks for having us back. Yesterday, we announced as a coalition our plan around locations, the institutional architecture, the plan to establish a civil nuclear program. In later iterations of our policy release, we will be talking about the economics. And so we'll have that conversation then. But if I can make this point in response to, I didn't see the Tim Buckley interview, but nevertheless, what's key here is value for money. Cost is absolutely important, but it is just one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is the benefits that accrue. And in this case, we are talking about cheaper, cleaner and consistent 24/7 power.
Right, so is your plan going to produce cheaper and cleaner energy than the government's renewable plan when it all comes together in 2050?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Laura. We wouldn't be doing it otherwise. There's a lot of experts that say that Labor's plan wouldn't work anyway, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say, let's just say from an engineering perspective, somehow they could make their plan work. The fact that they have up to 28,000 kilometres of transmission lines, all of which have to land on your power bill at home and small business power bills, for example, it just shoots the price through the roof. And it is why Australia is the only nation venturing down the path that Labor has set here. No other country is even thinking about doing what Labor is doing.
What's that?
So,
what are you talking about exactly
there? Part of the reason
there?
is the economics don't stack up.
82% renewables by 2030?
So the 82% renewables by 2030 and then up to nearly 100% thereafter. A grid, an electricity grid that is predominantly reliant on weather-dependent technologies of wind and solar, not alone, but overly reliant. That creates system problems and increases costs exponentially.
But aren't you ignoring the use of batteries there
already seeing
and the emergence in battery technology and that they're doubling their capacity all the time?
Laura, no, not at all. And you make a really good point because batteries are going to be key. And we're yet to release our renewables policy, our gas policy and other aspects. What you will see is we will definitely be leaning into the importance of storage, and that includes batteries.
All right. So when all is said and done, I accept that you're not telling us the cost yet, but when all is said and done, if you were able to get these 7 plants up and running, what percentage of our power system would that provide? Would that be 10 or 20%? And for the rest of it, say the 80%, would that still be renewables?
Laura, unfortunately, I have to disappoint you with this one too, because that will be part of our future release. And the reason for that is this. We are wanting to focus right now on the nuclear part of our policy, but we are yet to release the renewables and the gas.
Fair enough, but you must know, you must have some idea. You must have some idea of the capacity of these 7 nuclear power plants when they are fully up and running. Would that be around 20% of our total power capacity?
Again, Laura, I won't be going into the percentage of the energy mix at this point.
Do you not?
But we have been doing a lot of work on this.
Yet? I know you have been doing a lot of work, and look, I don't expect all of the details right now, but you've got to have some idea of what 7 power plants would provide in terms of energy. People need to know that, especially before the next election, don't they?
So again, Laura, we will release the economics, we release the energy mix and so forth in due course, well ahead of the next election. Because you make a fair point. Of course, people need to know the answers to these things. But the approach we have taken is to put consumers at the centre, making sure that, yes, the lights have to stay on, we have to decarbonise, but we've got to get these prices down. And what consumers and households will see is a far cheaper and cleaner approach of constant 24/7 power than Labor can possibly deliver.
But if you can't answer those two former questions, how do you know it will be cheaper?
We will answer those questions. We're just saying you haven't released it yet, Laura.
Right, so you know, but you don't want to tell us yet.
Let me see if I can answer. Let me see if I can partly make you happy by talking about our approach with having 2 establishment projects as the starting point of the deployment. Okay. So here we would have by 2035 the first electricity coming onto the Australian grid from small modular reactors, or 2 years after if they were the modern larger plants. So going to your question then about capacity. So if, for example, they were small modular reactors, and it will be the independent Nuclear Energy Coordinating Authority that will advise on the specific technology and then the capacity. But I'm going to give you a round example. So with that disclaimer, an example. If it were small modular reactors and you're talking about 2 plants, you could see up to 1.8 gigawatts of capacity from those 2 plants if they were SMRs. And so, of course, if they were larger plants, it's far more than that. Now,
but as SMRs are going to take a lot longer, aren't they?
No, not really. In fact, because they are smaller, they are modular. One of the reasons they've been designed in the first place is you can collapse the time of actually standing them up and making them work. Even the larger, actually the modern larger plants are far smaller than the old former generations. We're not interested in the old stuff. We only want the new stuff, which is generation 3 and beyond. And the timelines we are looking at are very consistent with the International Atomic Energy Agency's recommendation and the Australian government's own advisor, ANSTO, in this space. So it's completely consistent with best practice advice.
Okay, a lot of detail, and we're going to discuss that in the months ahead because you are not giving it to me today, but I will keep on trying, Ted O'Brien. Just one final question here. If you're seeking a mandate, and this is a big one, I've not seen an election like this since my time reporting politics, if this is the way it's going to go. A big, bold idea. Some have called it crazy brave. If the coalition loses the next election, but most importantly, loses some ground in these seats where this proposal is, will you drop it? Will you seek a different solution and bipartisanship?
So, Laura, our plan is to seek a mandate from the Australian people, and there are far better political commentators, and you're one of them, who can provide lots of good commentary about hypotheticals of depending what seats are won and lost and so forth. My focus, and the reason we're doing this under Peter Dutton's leadership, is we have to focus on what's in the national interest. Is this a challenging, big, bold policy idea? It is, and we are doing it because it is in the interests of our nation and the people we serve. And so we have to prosecute the case, unashamedly so, but that's why we're doing it. As for political commentary, you're far better at that than I.
OK, thanks. I'll take that compliment. I'll see you soon, and we'll try and get some detail from you in the months ahead.